I want to welcome you to another episode of Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. I'm seated this afternoon to ask my listeners a question. When did it become okay to mock our children? When did it become okay to mock our children? What sparked this thought was watching Kevin Hart do a skit on Saturday Night Live whereby he pretends to be Quvenzhane Wallis. And for some who may not know, Quvenzhane Wallis is the youngest actress to be nominated for the Best Actress category. She has an interesting history behind her in terms of her acting career. She was actually nominated in 2013 for a film called Beasts of the Southern Wild. She ended up appearing the following year in 12 Years a Slave, and as of late, she was the lead actress in the remake of Annie. But for that year, for 2012, this 9-year-old precocious kid ends up being nominated for the Best Actress category, and that was for the 85th Annual Academy Awards. What you need to know is the last time a kid was nominated in that category, it was the famous Shirley Temple. So these are not nominations that come easy, and they don't happen that often. Nonetheless, she was nominated. So as the skit goes, Kevin Hart comes out and he dresses exactly like Quvenzhane. Apparently he saw a picture of an outfit that she wore, a celebratory outfit that she wore. He imitates her hairstyle. He wears a dress just like hers. He carries her famous poodle purse and pretty much mocks a lot of, she's a little girl, so she has different, movements, little shoulder dance that she does, and then apparently that she also enjoys doing the Dougie. So this is what Kevin Hart decided to do to get laughs. Now, one of the things that makes this odd and also made me angry was that Kevin Hart, in the interview, claimed this was something he would never do. He would never dress like a woman. He was asked, did he see any validation to Dave Chappelle's assertion that he felt like black men were always, particularly black comedians were always asked to dress as women, cross-dress at some point in their career, and that he sees it as somewhat of a conspiracy to effeminate black men. And so, or emasculate black men. So, Kevin Hart said, in the interview, I've been blessed. None of those type of scripts have come across my desk. We have to be cognizant of our brand. We have to protect our brand, and that's nothing I would ever do. So apparently, Kevin Hart has had a change of heart. And on one hand, who cares? If Kevin Hart wants to dress as a woman, cross-dress, if he wants to be less masculine and be seen as effeminate, that's his business. But I believe you cross a line when you decide to take a 9-year-old and mimic them, mock them, make fun of them. It's hard enough being a kid. It's hard enough being a kid in Hollywood, and it's extremely hard to be a minority, to be a black kid in Hollywood is just quadruple pressure. So we've always made an effort to protect our children. There's never been a big push towards mimicking, making fun of children in Hollywood. Not by blacks. I can't think of any of the high-powered stars, the ones that really make the money, really making fun of young black entertainers. So I started going back and I thought about, Sammy Davis Jr., who at 3 was a master tap dancer. At 5, he was traveling as part of a vaudeville team. At 8, he had already appeared in 2 movies. And part of the reason he was able to excel so intensely and so fast, so rapidly, is because he was loved on and protected, and he was allowed to be a kid, but he also was in great training to be a master performer. I thought about Gladys Knight, who made her solo at 4 in Mount Moriah Baptist Church in Atlanta, where she was born and raised. And she actually, at 8, won a prize for the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. Now, you have to know, when she sang, she won against 2 adult women. So her vocals were stellar. I thought about Kim Fields, who is the daughter of Chip Fields, who, for some of us oldies but goodies, remember her from Good Times, and she was the mother who was the parent to Janet Jackson, who also was a kid actress, and she was abusive to her, but nonetheless, Kim Fields is the daughter of Chip Fields. She started off her acting career at 5 as part of Sesame Street, and she landed her major role at 9 as Tootie on Different Strokes. I never remember any of those kid actors being made fun of. I thought about Regina King, who is a lot older than them. She's about 14 when she landed her role on 227, but nonetheless, those are pretty tender years. You're coming of age, adolescence, your mind, body, your privacy issues. All of this stuff is changing as you transition into womanhood. And she was a protected young actress. Like, there was nobody going around doing Regina King skits, making fun of this young actress. She has transitioned into, her big break was Boys in the Hood. She also did Jerry Maguire. But, I say all this to say we've always had a heart for the black actor and actress, the kid actor and actress. They were a protected team. People weren't going around making fun of them. People didn't write skits around them. I can't think of any of the high-powered black comedians, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Scatman Scruthers, any of these people making fun of children, Flip Wilson, none of these people took children and put them as part of an act. So here we have Kevin Hart, who has made a decision to not only lower his standard and be effeminate, but then he uses a child to get laughs. And so Quvenzhane Wallis has only been in this whole industry, like, seriously, 3 years. And so it really is a tender period even for a kid. She's only 9 years old, against this big, big industry. And I keep thinking about the two Corys. Mainly it's Corey Feldman, who goes around telling the truth about Hollywood. And one of the things that he talks about is that casting couch. And he says the biggest problem in Hollywood is pedophilia and everything that goes on with that casting couch. And I'm not going to go deep into that. That's a podcast for another time. But the point is, Hollywood isn't necessarily the safest, kindest place for children. That's what I get from Corey Feldman's discussions about Hollywood. So we have this adult man who has so much money, like he could live, 2 lifetimes and never run through all his money, who, for jokes, just for light jokes, made a mockery of this young girl, and she's just getting started. She's just getting started, and she's like any other goofy 9-year-old girl, And so I thought, wow, when did it become okay for us to make a mockery of our children? Usher came into the game on Star Search. Just a little boy, like he's a small, compact man. He was even smaller on Star Search. We wasn't making fun of Usher. We was excited that he could sing in his dances as well as he could. It just seems so low. And so I'm wondering what's happening with us. That in order to get jokes, we've gone from talking about the issues with black men, now is every anti-black woman, and now we've gotten so low that we've gone down to the children. Even the children are up for grabs. If you can get the joke, and for the right price, hey, why not? And I thought about some of the pains of children. So we forget that, who is it? The Different Strokes staff, the Different Strokes children. If ever we need to consider protecting children, we need to look back at what happened with Different Strokes. Gary Coleman is deceased. I remember Gary Coleman when he actually was on Good Times. He was the bad little boy, precocious boy that came in and he talked smart and talked jazz. He was a little bitty feisty thing. And he didn't survive that transition from childhood into adulthood as it applies to celebrity. Todd Bridges, same thing. The transition out of Different Strokes into his manhood I mean, he barely survived it. I mean, between jail and addiction. And one character, and she's not black, but I mean, she's just as important. She was a kid actress on that show, a very beloved kid actress was Dana Plato. Dana Plato is dead. Like, if ever there were kid actors and actresses where we see the results of not having putting that extra care and protection on their lives, we can see it through that Different Strokes cast. So I wonder, why wasn't there more uproar about his consideration for that? I wonder who wrote it. I know whoever wrote it wasn't black. I know whoever wrote it wasn't black. Most people felt such joy and pride in Quvenzhane Wallis, this 9-year-old girl, best actress at the 85th Annual Academy Awards. We fought to get acknowledged at that. So why would we make fun of her? And why is it that in order to have a black man make a good joke, why does it have to be a girl that's symbolic that could be his daughter? And so I wonder how Kevin Hart feels about his children. I wonder if his children are up for mockery. Can comedians decide that they want to dress up like his kids and crack jokes and pretend like they're going to be the next pope or the next president? Or can he pretend like his children are Vladimir Putin? Or, I mean, I'm trying to understand, what is Kevin Hart's opinions about children now? I know his opinions about money. I know his opinions about the almighty dollar. I know his opinions about jokes. When did it become okay to mock our children? Kids who have been overexposed to everything. In America, kids are in danger every day. They keep talking about at risk. What child isn't at risk? Everything is on TV. And what's not on TV is coming through the airwaves, through music. Our kids have never been as vulnerable as they are today. Bullying at an all-time high, suicide at an all-time high, self-hate at an all-time high, it's cross social economic backgrounds, pregnancy, violence, education in America. We went from number 1 to 48. Here's a girl that's positive and beautiful and loved and trying. When did it become okay to mock our children? I want you to think about that, listeners. In the meantime, you've been listening to Beyond the Surface Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda J. Evans-Brewer. Until we chat again, be safe in God's grace.